children to the dogs and all of the above. We talk about real life issues and how we can navigate this thing here called life. I'm so excited about this episode, but I'm late. I know I am, and I don't care. This is actually the Black History Month episode, and yeah, it's March. I know it, but that's my business, as Auntie Tab say. And truth be told, we could talk about Black history all year long. And so I'm so excited. I have a special guest with me, and her name is Dr. Siantra Gray. Say hey to the people, CeCe.
Hello.
Oh, that's what I call her. Y'all call her Doctor. I call her CeCe. Put some respect on it. But she's an author, a mother, a sister, a active church member. She has 2 beautiful boys. I love her husband. Even though I didn't know him when we was in school, I still love him the same. We did go to school together. She sings, y'all. She writes, not just books, but writes music. Listen, God is doing amazing things in her life. So I'm super, super excited for her to be here with us. And I just appreciate you saying yes, y'all. She was a hesitant yes, but we got her on here, and we're gonna have a good time. And so this particular episode, CeCe, I want to talk about the giants among us, right? And let me explain for all of my listeners and viewers what this means. Her and I both come from a family who are not all blood, but a family full of giants. I mean, people that are just big in these streets, okay? They're doing major things in the community, in the kingdom of God, as well as the actual community we live in. And so I thought it was befitting for Black History Month, or in this case, our Black History show, to just talk about some of the giants in our life, some of those little known heroes or not known heroes that are heroes to us. And maybe you never heard of them, or you have but have no clue actually what they really do. And I also want to kind of get into what it's like to live amongst these people, the pressures, that come with that, trying to just make sure, because the reality is we are in their shadow, which isn't always a bad thing, because there's a space of being protected. There's a space of being, where you can be nurtured. It's like a giant bird and her babies. We're safe in this space, but at the same time, everyone's looking at us like that's going to be you one day. And so that's what we're going to talk about, girl. So, CeCe, go ahead and I allow you. I did my little introduction, but, introduce yourself, and then we'll get right into it.
Well, thank you again for this invitation. I feel real official to be on the Main Look podcast. And we all know where Main Look came from. If you're from Memphis, you already know Main Look. Let me tell you about it. So I'm so happy to be here. But as Nicole said, I am a wife, or most, not going to get in trouble with my husband. I'm a wife. I'm a mother, corporate professional, recent author, just a lot of things. And God has just been so faithful to me, and I know I'm not an official doctor yet, but it's coming. So
we claiming
it. But I'm very, very excited to be a part of this conversation, and we'll see. Nicole can come with questions that have you looking like, so I'm ready to get this started. But before I get in trouble, you guys can find me. My website is www.CeCegray.com, and I'm Dr. Gray C on Instagram and CeCe Gray on Facebook.
Thank you. Look, put your plug in, girl, because I told her, I said, listen, I don't know all this stuff, so you say it, but I will absolutely have it in the link on YouTube in the bio, and it'll also be on the Instagram when I post the clip, and also it'll be on Spotify, Anchor. You'll be able to find it, all of her information. Go check out. She also got some merch, but we'll talk about that a little later. Okay, so let's get into this, all right? Because we got to watch our time. Giants. So I'm gonna start us off to make sure, like I gotta pay homage to the giants in my life. So first and foremost, I have to pay homage to my grandmother. It's a joking thing, a running joke kind of here in my family, that she is one of the founders of Delta. Now, she is not a founder, y'all, but we say that because mother was a Delta most of her life. She pledged at the Wilberforce University chapter, and she, beyond just her achievements with Delta, she has done so much in this community. She worked for a company that a lot of people know of, but had no clue she was one of the founding members of how this company even got started. But she was the director for Omnivisions Incorporated, not the eyeglasses, but the foster care agency. Their foster care agency serves the tri-state area, so Memphis, Arkansas, and Mississippi, and she ran it. Now, she was not the CEO. The CEO was Miss Eileen, God rest her soul. They're both deceased now. But when Miss Eileen started the business, she brought my grandmother in, and they grew that thing to what it is today. And she just had a heart for kids. Like, when I say, it's so funny because to this day, I still run into people that know her or knew her rather. And they tell me about the impact she made on their life. She was a social worker here from Memphis City Schools. That's Memphis City Schools. No shade. I'm lying. To SES. But she was a social worker. She worked at a whole lot of schools. And then she also did some other stuff just on the side. She just loved kids, girl. It was always different children at her house. And I remember being young and thinking, like, am I ever gonna just have her to myself? And I remember she sat me down and she said, listen, our job on this earth is way bigger than us. She said, I love you, and no one can take the fact that you are my first grandbaby. But I have so much more to do. And she said, I want to show you, I'm gonna lead by example. And she did that, girl. She housed children in her own home. So not only was she and she changed what foster care looked like in Memphis. It was beyond just putting kids in the house, people getting checks, and that's it. She made sure that they got professional development. If they needed tutors, sometimes she would hire me, my mama, like the family, come tutor these kids. She would make sure that they had therapy. It was you couldn't miss it. You had to have therapy. She made sure that medical, that dental, all these things were taken care of. And then she was strict on her parents. She did not play with them. Do you hear me? She ain't play with them. She said, you're not gonna be in this just for the check. You gonna love these babies. And most of her kids, most of her families ended up adopting the children. That's unheard of. She had I think when she left, an 85% success rate of once they go in, they stay with that family. And then she even changed the program where that when they came out, automatically she would be making them save money. Like when they would work, part of the program, they would give some of their money back and they would put it up for them. So when they get out, they get out at 18, whether they stay with their family or not, they had money in their pocket. So whatever they wanted to do, if they wanted to go to school, my point is she just did a lot. We would go on trips and she would take them to see things. She took us to the governor's mansion. She took us to Nashville. We went to DC. Like, she did so much. And even me, even though I wasn't a foster kid, it was so funny because everybody thought I was one because I was always with her. People would, she just did so much, and I'm grateful for those experiences. To see some of those kids who were crack babies, whose parents just couldn't take care of them or died, or they had all kind of horrific stories, and a lot of them are doing well, and a lot of them I'm still in touch with to this day. Like one of my big brothers, I won't say his name, but he's married and has how many kids he got now? He got 4. He got twins, doing really well. Another one he just got through, like they got businesses, like they are doing really, really well. And it's all a tribute or a test to her dedication to them. And then despite all of that, the lady took care of everybody. Like when she died, you would have thought, and I ain't saying just because she's my grandma, I'm telling you, I was surprised. Her funeral and her funeral, CeCe, was 3 hours. I'm talking about like Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston style. And the people sat there. My mind was blown. So many people came out and were just telling us stories about how she was paying their rent. We didn't know how she helped their daughter through school. How she, one girl told me that, and they called all kind of different names. She was known by Tiny. She was known by Miss Millie. She was known by Mama Mildred. It just depended on what aspect you met her. But, she, the girl was getting ready to drop out because she had got pregnant. And my grandma told her, look, if you finish school, I'll make sure I help you with daycare. And she did. The whole 4 years. That's the kind of stuff. And that's just that sector. I can't even, girl, I'm not even going to get into the Delta stuff. it's just bananas. She's done so much, and she knows so. Let me tell you, you know how they say the prayers of a grandmama? There's a lot of things and perks and favors I get to this day because of her. And she been dead now almost 5 years. That just shows you, and it was pressure being under this lady. Because the expectation was, this is what you gonna do. This is how you gonna be. And I can't acknowledge her and not talk about my mama. Because my mama came right in and was right up under her. Same way. Now she used to say out of her mouth she don't like kids, but she a lie. She love kids. Because it was always kids. My mama was the neighborhood mama. She was I was in choir, and she was at every performance. I played volleyball. She was at, like, it was to the point where the coaches and the teachers didn't even, it was like, oh, Pam gonna be there. And she like, y'all ain't gonna ask me? Or if it was something to do that had to do with the parents, okay, Miss Allen over it. She's like, I don't want to. She was absolutely amazing. Like, and she still is amazing me. She's she's over 60, look like she all of 30, and she rocking with the best of them. And she's consistently, she used to work with this group called CCP, Community Crime Prevention, with this lady named Miss Beatrice Howard. Miss Howard is now also deceased. And this group we had a step team, we had a majorette squad, we had a drum team. It's just all kind of different activities. And she was right there. We used to do fashion shows. We would have block parties. And it was all a way to keep the youth have out the streets and something to do. And she was right there. And even though that group is no longer together, she still, hear me now, to this day keeps up with them. There's a man I just found out about. My mama had been visiting him in the nursing home for the last 5 years. I didn't even know. The man called looking for her. I'm like, who are you? And it was my grandfather's best friend, and she had been visiting every day. This whole, like, that's the kind of stuff they do. And so growing up seeing this stuff, and I'm like, whew, okay, you got to be a good person. You can't be out here making all this work they did look crazy. But beyond it, I wanted to because I saw it. That's what I saw happen in front of me. And so I saw that you can be good. You can be kind. You can be generous. And you can still take care of your family. Like, it's possible. But I also saw the downside of that, with them constantly being ridiculed. Constantly, the exhaustion that they would have, and nobody cared. They were still being pulled on. You know what I mean? My grandma would be have to go to Nashville twice a day sometimes. And nobody, it seemed as if they didn't care, because they would still be calling her with a problem, and she would jump to it. And it just, I'm just very, very grateful to have grown up with strong Black women who defeated the odds. They were not a statistic. They both went to college. They both graduated. They both went on and did amazing. And my grandmother is still doing amazing things. I tell her all the time, like, it's not even over for you. Like, I know you're 60, but she's getting ready to start a whole business. Bruh, it's 60. I was like, I can't play with this podcast when I got her over here showing out like that. And I know you can attest as well. Like, tell us about, some of the giants in your life.
Oh my goodness, I've been blessed with so many giants. I have to start as well with my grandmother, who I was always with. My mom had me her senior year in high school, so I was always with my granny. And she's the one that I attribute to being involved in church, involved in ministry, involved in music, all of that kind of stuff. That was my granny. I was right there with her. Everything that she went to, I went to. So I definitely have to attribute it to her. All the kids were always with her, but I was always the different kid. And you kind of hate to be called a different kid, but I was the different kid. And my mom, I have to talk about her too, because even though she had me her senior in high school, she didn't let that stop her. Like, she's been a preschool teacher since I was 2. Wow. And there are students that are my age and older was like, I still remember your mom. I'm like, how do you remember that?
Pre-K.
pre-K.
That's a lasting
Still
impression.
remember.
Remember you from when they
Still remember. Absolutely. And so I get my love for kids, honestly. And believe it or not, I grew up trying to do everything I could not to become a teacher because, they'd be like, well, you're going to follow in your mom's footsteps. I don't want to be a teacher. That's not what I want to do. But I definitely have a heart and a passion, not only for children, but for people. And my mom and my granny both, they have hearts for people. Like, sometimes you ask, why are you doing that? Like, why are you doing that for these people? And they don't have an answer for you because that's just what they do. And they don't look for anything in return.
Nothing. It's just in them.
Nothing.
And that's how you know it comes from God. Because it's just
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so many times that my husband gets on me, he's like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Like, they don't even do anything for you. They're never there to support you. Why are you still helping people? But I'm like, it's just in my heart to do. And I get it honestly from them. But, moving on as I got a little bit older, kind of middle school, high school, I was blessed with two amazing godparents, godmothers, that I kind of made them my godmother. Which is like, no, you're going to be my godmother. I see something in you that's not in me. That I can see, but I like it. So I'm going to be here and that's it. And so after a while, they kind of, went ahead and adopted me. And one had 3 daughters of her own and a son, but she still pulled me right on in with them. And I'm forever grateful because they taught me how to carry myself as a young lady, how to seek after God, how to make something of myself, how not to be mediocre. But then as I got on up into college age and went to Nashville, I went to Vanderbilt University, I was blessed to then be with my other godmother. I have 3. Y'all don't talk about me. I have 3. And actually she took me on. She was just like, there's too much greatness in you and I'm not going to allow you to be mediocre. I'm not going to allow you to have stuff. Like, you're just not going to do this.
settle.
You cannot settle. And it was a non-negotiable. The more I was around her, and I kind of talk about her in my book a lot, the more I was around her, I actually thought she didn't like me because she would be, make me do all these things. Like, she was like, here, you need to learn how to cook this. Here, fold these clothes, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm not your maid. What are you doing? And I'm a college student at this point. But she knew one day, you're going to be a wife. You're going to have your own family. And you're going to have everything else going on. And you need to learn how to juggle. She's the one that taught me, you don't go traveling somewhere else and your house is looking a mess. You don't go travel somewhere else and you don't have food cooked or your kids taken care of. Like, you don't do that. Yeah. So, I learned simple values from all of these women. And even now when I look back, I'm like, they were teaching me the entire time. Things that comes naturally to me now. It's like, so that's why they were doing that.
So let me ask you this. With that being said, we're talking about giants, right? And that just means something that's simply bigger, almost seems unattainable to us. Mm-hmm. So like you said, you realize all of those lessons, it was like, oh, okay, I get why. But in the moment, right, I want to ask you, how did it feel? You say you had 3 on top of what you already had naturally, 3 that were extra, your 3 bonus godmamas. How did that feel, seeing all these amazing things that they were doing and knowing like, okay, I want to be like them, which is not a bad thing to emulate, as long as it's a healthy, you know what I mean? But,
absolutely. But
how did that, seriously, like, what did that do to your psyche? Was that a struggle for you? Did you deal with perfectionism? Did you find yourself, trying to be like them versus taking what they've given you and being CeCe?
Absolutely. I did go through a period of what I call identity crisis, because let me step back. I grew up, my mom and my biological father were never married. So I grew up, one weekend here, one weekend there, one weekend here, back and forth. So I already dealt with the identity crisis growing up. So just imagine being around these giants, so to speak, and trying to see, where do I fit in? Of course, one is a phenomenon as it relates to music, writing music, teaching choir, teaching piano, everything else. And you feel that natural pressure. Oh my gosh, do I sing enough? I all West and all state time, I felt the pressure because I had to achieve. There was no such thing as, oh, I didn't make all West. I'm sorry, what? Like it was no, you felt that pressure. And even, with my other godmother who's a pastor's wife and, everything else, you feel that pressure to be at Bible study, to have a relationship with God, to spend time in the Word. Don't care what else is going on. This is important to you. And of course, my third godmother, like she's just, oh my God, singer, recording artist, author, I mean, you name it, she's done it. And it's like when people automatically see you with her, it's like, oh, so you represent what she represents as well. So you're following in her footsteps. And of course that comes with the other side of, oh, you're just running up behind this person. You have the naysayers as well, but you have to get to a maturity level that you see beyond, or you can hear beyond the chatter. Because the chatter can be very distracting and rob you of what you're really supposed to get in that predestined relationship. So of course you definitely
relate to that, because with my grandmother, I remember I remember her telling me, as far as pledging was concerned, I had no other choice. She told me, I will disown you if you pledge anything.
And she was serious.
Yeah, she was dead serious. She's like, I'm not paying for it. You want to do it? She said, this is her that I'll come to your little probate, but I'm not.
Wow.
And so, but beyond that, she also said, like, do your research and see what's important to you. And so I did end up pledging the same sorority, but in all honesty, it was mainly for her. I wanted to do it, but it really was for her. I'll never forget the day I crossed. I told you this story, but I'm gonna tell the people. So the day I crossed, they do a penance ceremony, and my mom is also in the same sorority. So my mom thought she was gonna pin me. Baby, my grandmother's knee was bad, and she ran. She didn't run for real, but she was walking up there fast, and my mom was looking like, literally like. And just the joy on her face, I knew she was so proud. She was so excited, and I'm glad I could do that for her. But when she died, it was like, it was so hard for me to continue to participate, because the reality is I had really done it for her. So I had to go back and reevaluate. Now I'm standing in this giant footstep, because she's gone. I'm in her footsteps. And I felt so small. I felt all the pressure from family who just expected me, because I'm the oldest grandchild. You know how it is when you're the strong one. They expected it to do. I had the sorority who was looking at me and my mama like, y'all gotta do what she do. Even with big footsteps, that's some shoes to fill. They meant it in a joking way, but they didn't realize what it was doing to us internally. And it took years. I told you she's been dead now almost 5 years. Now my mother is back active. I am just now about to be back active. I couldn't do it, CeCe. One, my whole life was that makes it like that's all I saw. So when she died, everything about it reminded me of her, and I needed people to understand I couldn't be around it no matter how much I loved it. I truly wanted to do it for me. I took the time to reevaluate, and I'm like, yes, I still want to be here, but I needed time. And I
need time to reevaluate your why.
Yeah, exactly. And so I said all that to say, when we are following behind, because you mentioned like the chatter, when we're following behind people who are this big, right? It not just in our eyes, but in obviously everyone around us. People have all kind of opinions on what you should or shouldn't do, versus seeing them for who they are and then seeing me. Yes, they did some things that they instilled in me. They taught me some lessons, but the reality is I'm Ashley. I'm not her. And so what I had to do was come to a resolve with that exact thought. I'm Ashley, and I'm gonna do it the way I do it. I'm gonna take what she gave me, right? It's just like a recipe. We talk about cooking all the time. I'm gonna take the recipe, and then I know what I already like, and I'm gonna mix that thing together and create my own product.
Create your own.
And now at that point, I need you to recognize that I'm a giant as well. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I absolutely picked up that mantle. I just needed some time to adjust it and fix it to fit my shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And when you were saying that, I just got the visual when you said I'm standing in her footprint. Like I just got a visual of you, standing like in this big footprint, like where do I go next? Which way do I go? Trying to find your way.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's how it is in the shadows of giants. That's how it is. But again, like you said, if you can just take what you're supposed to get from each of those relationships, stir it up and produce your own thing, then you won't have the identity crisis that we were talking about. Exactly. Because you are naturally you, and then in turn you create something where someone else will want to aspire to be more like you.
Yep. That's what your book talks about, right? That's building legacy. That is how you. So it's like, now this is my opinion. Now you tell me what you think, and I'm watching our time. We got to wrap it up here. But legacy to me, I think it starts when you're fortunate enough, and everybody is not fortunate. So it could start with you, right? You say that. It could absolutely start with you. But whoever starts it, you are just adding to it. You're just adding to it. So for me, it was absolutely my grandparents, my great-grandparents. Actually, I can go back to them because they were amazing. I ain't even talk about great-granny. I'm sorry, Adele. I'm sorry. We call her. I'm sorry. Listen, she was a beast in these streets. This lady had a whole lot of kids. She was sometimes pregnant with her children, and not because she back then they would start young. And she worked also. She was a school cafeteria lady, and she listen. The whole world loved this lady. My grandfather helped build Middle Baptist Church in Whitehaven. People don't know. Yeah, they have a museum. They're in the museum. So I you see what stock I come from. And so anyway, my point is, when legacy starts, it's your job not to look at that as some daunting task, but rather, okay, they did this. Now, what is my lane? What portion do I add to it? And then you just say, you present that to your kids, and it might not be your kids. It might be a godchild. It might be a cousin. Okay, now you add yours to it. And I think if we would view legacy in that way, then we would realize that we come from rich legacy, and we're just keeping the traditions going. Good traditions, healthy traditions of being stable, of being business owners, of being entrepreneurs, of passing down, good values and morals beyond, because on main look, everybody not Christian. So I like to talk about life application. And the idea is, you can be a good person and still go to hell. So Absolutely. We can talk about what am I how am I going to be known in the community? Or am I just somebody that's working a 9 to 5? What have I done? And I'm gonna be real, I'm not satisfied with that. So I'm grateful that God put the giants in my life, and I'm seeing it like I'm gonna do something, even if there's something that's small.
Right.
I'm not leaving this earth and all I did was go to work. Mm-hmm. It's not happening, see. It's not
enough. And I think that's kind of where legacy kind of came from. The book started out as a mom's devotional. That's what I was starting out as. But then the more I wrote, the more I realized, how much generational dysfunction we pass down. Because we talk about the good side of legacy. We don't talk about the bad side of legacy. But legacy is both ways. So, I felt like, there are some things that, we as millennials, we do differently now that, I'm going to make sure my children are set up for X, Y, and Z. I'm going to make sure that we pass down generational wealth, because our vanilla brothers and sisters do it, but we don't seem to do that. We leave behind debt. So that's the kind of thing where I said legacy begins with me. And, even growing up at Colonial, Miss Williams, how, she taught me how much a teacher's relationship impacts you.
How important it is.
Literally impacts you. So legacy is not just about, the kids that you birth, it's every person you come in contact with. So are you leaving a good legacy? Are you showing people what to do or what not to do? How to impact people or how not to impact? Because legacy isn't just the tangibles, it's the intangibles as well.
Because I can't stand, and I say this at work, I say this at church, I say it in my home, and I've said it to you all. Don't just bring me the problem. Bring me the solution. And if you don't know the solution, then keep your mouth shut until you find one. And that's how I feel for real. Because like you said, we can bark all day long and talk about this, but what are we doing? How are we helping? You know, like they talk about, what's the parable? You can lead a horse to water. No, that's the wrong one. You can give a man a fish, but you can't. You teach him. CeCe, help me. What is it?
You teach him how to fish.
Okay.
If you teach him how to fish, you know, there's so many versions out there, but if you teach him how to fish, he'll never be hungry. But then if you just give him a fish, he'll be hungry again.
And he coming back every time.
He's coming back. Absolutely.
And so that's my biggest thing. That's what I want to do with Main Look. That's part of what this is, to take all these everyday things. People think this stuff all the time when you and I think like, man, I got this lady over here. Or it could be their father. It could be an uncle, like, man, they doing, and I want to. And if they like me, now I'm working through this, okay? But if they like me, typically what happens, if I get overwhelmed or if something intimidates me, I end up self-sabotaging and I won't do it at all. Because if I feel like if I don't do it the way I see it in my head or the way I see them doing it, then what's the point of doing it? And that is dumb.
It is.
It's stupid. But I know I'm not the only person who does it. And so that's the point of this, to say, okay, hey, when you have that thought, what you should do is take a step back. You know, we talk about planning and write it out. The Bible says it, okay? Those who don't know the word, it's in the word. Write the vision, make it plain. What does that mean? Write down where you see yourself as if you're already there. My mentor, I love that lady. She just made us do that assignment. She was like, she calls us queen. So she said, write as if you are the queen you want to be. What does that look like? I would encourage my viewers and my listeners, write down what is it that you want to be doing, and write a letter to yourself as if you're already doing, who you are, the characteristics of that person, the types of things that they do, the types of habits they have. And then you'll begin to manifest that. Manifestation is in the Bible. You will see it manifest in your life, because now you've presented an actual functional plan that God can work with. And he'll begin to change your perspective, your mindset of yourself. So you won't be intimidated by all of the big people in your life that's out here cutting up. You can cut up too.
You can cut up too. And I was just about to say that a lot of times we don't write down anything because we can't see those things for ourselves, because we don't feel like we're worthy. We don't feel like we can do it. But definitely, everybody needs to just write down what it is that you're wanting to do and watch that thing come to pass, because you'll realize you can do a lot more than you give yourself credit for.
Come on here, because ain't you working on another book? Hello, ain't you got to be out here writing some music? Don't you got this merch? Listen, this podcast, I told y'all about, I was sitting there and I got up and I started writing, and God, it just came. It just came, and then it was easy. And when I say it was easy, meaning because I took the time to plan, to do my due diligence. When I got ready to actually produce, there was some hiccups here and there, but it worked out. And the beauty of it, I can do it on my time. It's like your book. I know you probably got publishers and stuff, but the reality is, it really is, it's no rush. You can do it the way you want to, because it's your product, it's your book, it's your words, and when it's all said and done, you doing it. And you're going to get the bag. Right.
Yes, absolutely. Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus for the bag.
I appreciate you. I wish we could talk. We're going to talk some more, y'all. She coming back. Okay.
We're going to have to talk some more. Absolutely.
She coming back. We've been trying to do this. Our schedules were conflicting, and she got two little ones. I love them little boys. I got two big old girls, and she got a new promotion, and she just got a lot going on.
Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
Make sure, if you are on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. If you're listening on any of the other platforms, still like, share, and subscribe. You can find us at YouTube at Main Look Podcast, Instagram, Main Look Podcast, Spotify is the same thing across the board. CeCe, remind us where they can find you.
You can go to my website, www.CeCegray.com. And of course, my book, Legacy Begins With Me, is there. And I have some special edition legacies, so some merch is there. So
kind of lift your shirt so we can see it.
Let me lift up a shirt a little bit. You can see it.
Look at that. It comes in different colors.
It comes in different color. And for my Divine 9 lovely people, it's some special colors on there for you too. But on Instagram, I am Dr. Gray C. And on Facebook, you can find me at CeCe Gray, CeCe Gray. But
Well,
thank you again for this opportunity.
You know, I love you, girl.
I love you too.
People don't know. They don't know. It ain't none of their business, but it's real over here, okay? We talks, y'all. Okay?
Yes.
But y'all go blow up her Instagram. Go buy her book. Quit playing. Go buy some merch. Go support. Remember, this is the Black History show. We late. Oh God, we so late. But
Black History 365.
We're gonna support one another because I got some merch coming too soon. I'm so old, right? You started, Lord have mercy. Anyway, I appreciate y'all. This has been another episode of Main Look Podcast. We'll see you all soon. Peace. Thank you for watching another episode of Main Look Podcast. If you like what you saw, please give us a like. Leave us a comment down below on what you want to see next. And make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I drop a new video. See you next time.